Aloha, and thank you for joining us on this new live stream from Vermont. I want to send a nice warm aloha to everyone in the scalar laser still point global community. I want to take a moment to thank everyone for the recent tour, everyone up in Canada. We had a lovely tour recently. I want to thank all the affiliates and people that are devoted to coming and learning and growing in still point and in using the laser, and the affiliates and Cindy and Enid and Martin and Giselle and all the people who are out there helping to introduce and support people on their roads, on their journey to well-being. I want to also say aloha to everyone. This is a holiday weekend, and we're doing this live stream to send out to some of the groups going on this weekend, and also as a welcome and introductory training for folks new to our community. My name is Paul, for folks that are new. And as you noticed in the beginning of this, the first thing I do before basically everything I do is to take a moment. We call it still point. And it's really about using your perception to basically take charge of your condition. So many things right now in the world. There's so much activity. There's so much hype and ramp and acceleration in so many different areas, in so many different ways going on with people. I hear it. I've heard it so much this week that people feel overwhelmed. People feel like their lives are in this state of intensity. And the thing that I'm passionate about, the thing that is the underlying essence of everything we do as a we're not really a company, as a experience, is rests in the ability of the human condition to achieve a neutral state. Be it an injury, be it stress around a disease or a health condition, or around some emotional pattern or programs that have been going on, or around some kind of psychological thing, psychic thing that's been going on, or stress on some level. Whatever the situation is that is feeling overwhelming or intense, or like it's making you unable to process. We want to be able to context what that thing is, and then to make sure we have tools and resources, whatever they may be. We're going to share a few tools today that I happen to be involved in, passionate about in using to take any situation that's going on, that's a problem, that's a challenge, and to basically you steward that. Instead of that or those things, which when they're all happening at once can seem like an overwhelming amount of stuff processing you, we want to flip that equation around so that the nucleus here, this condition here, is central and stable and a place that's for us to be as we context whatever given thing has been a problem or a challenge or what have you, and apply our resources to invite that thing to be less of a problem. That's the key. On the tour, kind of each tour, there's always kind of a theme, if you will. And the tour that I was on last week was all about changing physics. Do you in your lives, and only you can answer this, do you have tools that can change the physics of a knee problem, or a back situation, or a digestive situation, or a emotional situation, or something going on in your brain that's concerning you, or any other stressor situation? Could even be a program in your life around how you deal with relationships, or how you are dealing with finances and abundance, how you manifest in your life, how you bring to you experiences that are well suited and versed for your journey, for your experience here on this planet right now, right here. Whatever you in this place of your innate essential condition, can context, providing you have tools, you can work on to improve and be more efficient and effective in your journey. It's no different than gardening, right? You garden, you set up an area of land and you decide, oh, I'm going to use this land differently than it being just used by nature. I'm going to use this a little differently. I'm going to set it up and orchestrate and put this here and then if you have a problem, maybe there's some kind of bugs or there's not a lot of sunlight or there's some animals getting in or there's someone coming and taking the vegetables. Whatever the problem that's happening to the situation, you own that space. You say this space, not in the ownership sense, in the stewardship sense. It's your space. You're cultivating it. And in that process, you can set to task and say, well, okay, let's move it a little and get the sun here. Let's put a little stick fence around it so that animals can't get in so easy. So everyone go ahead and take a nice big breath in. Everyone, for me, I didn't even take a breath. For me, it was just like... So if you're new, you take a breath at the top, at the space between the breath, take a moment and hold there. It kind of feels like holding the breath at first, though it's not. For me, the breath keeps going like it does when you sleep. The breath is good at doing its thing. You don't be concerned with that. Again, take a breath in, top of the breath, stop right here. Relax, let the breath keep going, yet you stay in the space between the breath. Kind of like that carnival ride. It goes up and then it goes this, and for a moment it stops. Breath does the same. It goes up, it goes down. It goes up, it goes down. Right as the transition happens, it stops. You can hold, you can rest there. And my life is about resting in that space. I learned this years ago from yogic practice. Yogis, meditators, medicine people, cranial sacral people understand this. They call it the space between the breath. They call it still point. I cannot say this enough. If you can tap into this, most people are in their breath. They're constantly in their breath. Things are stressful, the breath goes faster. Things are not so stressful, breath goes slower. That's basically the equation in life. Your breath goes faster when animal comes towards you. Your breath goes faster. Pulse goes faster. Stress, adrenaline, stress. That's one response in life. Other response, not so stress. Everything, you go ready for bed, you breathe, you watch your show, you have a glass of wine. Whatever you do, you relax, you breathe a little bit more, you go like this. The yogi is about saying, no. We're not just going to have life bring us back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We don't want to be a yo-yo. We're not yo-yo. Yogi is saying, okay, both we can take charge of by modulating our breath. Guess what happens? You come here, those two dissolve. Positive, negative dissolves into scalar. Still point is scalar energy. This is the yogis call prana, chi, universal energy. I call neutrality or scalar. You rest here, you tap into this vast reservoir of energy. And when that happens, you inevitably start to have more energy around you. This is that nucleus I was referring to. In my life, things get difficult. I tell everything around me, okay, everything chill out, everything back off for a moment. I got to pull my attention away from all these things. And I got to collect my attention here. I tell you, the true yogic art, the true science in meditation is about withdrawal of your sensory currents. The currents that come down, most people, down the spine and out through the chakras and out through the different senses into the world. That's how things happen here. Down the energy. Well, the reversal of that, which is the medical symbol, scalar wave, staff, pineal gland, you start to tell all those things, no. No. They're attractive things. This planet is filled with attractive things to get your attention. I love this story. There's a great story in India of a king, and the king has a beautiful kingdom palace and decides to have a big festival for all the people in town, all the children. And everyone goes to dancing and the games and the food and the rides, all this stuff is happening. And this one little girl goes through the whole thing and says, no, I don't want any of this. And she goes through and she gets to the little fence around the palace. She climbs over, goes, and there's the gardener in the back. Gardener's doing with the gardens and wearing a big robe. And the little girl goes up to the gardener and pulls on the robe and says, excuse me. And the gardener turns around. It's the king in the gardener clothes. And the little girl, the king says to the little girl, what are you doing here? I've set up this whole play for you to enjoy. And the little girl says, no, I don't want any of that. I want this. In other words, those are all distracting. She wanted to embrace everything. I tell you, still points like that. It can seem a little bit like, oh, it's quiet, so silence, but it's not. It's neutral. It's the substance that is behind everything in the universe, from stars to elements to everything that builds up this experience is the underlying essence, is this energy. It's described in different ways, and every tradition describes it in some way. So throughout the course of the day, we're going to take a moment every so often. If you've been to one of our trainings and seminars and retreats, gatherings, whatever, teleseminars, whatever we do, because that's what I do in my life. Every so often we're going to take a moment, and I'm going to say, everyone take a moment, take a breath in, stop right at the top of the breath. You can do it at the bottom of the breath, the space, or the more you go, for me, it's more like a lens. I don't use the breath, I just kind of tune my waves. More you get versed in this, anything that goes on in your life, you say, oh, okay, well, hold on, something stressing, some injury, something. You pull back, you get here, and then you figure it out from here. You don't figure it out with your emotions all wound and your thoughts all like this. You can't figure anything out when that's going on. Your body like this. Those things don't figure anything out. You want to figure stuff out, come here. In fact, try something. Everyone take a big breath in. While you're resting here, try to hold the thought or an emotion. It's not so easy. Now try to find an area of tension or pain in the body while you're resting here. I tell you, when you're neutral, it's like the magnet, right? The magnet's polarized, things cling. You flip it neutral, everything drops off the magnet. You start to cultivate neutral here, you're not going to hold on to old injuries, cell memory, beliefs, emotions, stress. You're just going to start to decompress that stuff. Okay, good. So we're going to focus on changing physics today. And I just shared with you that the most important thing I'm going to share throughout the course of this, whatever this is we're doing, live stream, whatever I'm going to share with you, this is the central way that I change physics. By resetting things, most things in the universe are going like this. They're spinning. Elements are spinning. Planets are spinning. Cells. Everything is in a state to some degree of vibratory resonance or oscillation. I call it polarity. Everything is spinning to some degree. Well, the key to all spinning is positive, negative, right? In order for anything to spin, a planet, you have two poles, positive and negative. Those two poles spin and you get spin. Elements, everything's spinning around the center. Everything is like working like this. There's the cell, everything is going around nucleus. Everything is in this state of oscillation. Well, positive, negative. Well, if you can go to anything, breath, positive, negative. Your central oscillation in your condition is the breath or the rhythms. Rhythm, depending how you look at it. So that oscillation, positive, negative, what I just shared with you is the technology to take that oscillatory polarity, range of polarity, whoosh, and neutralize it. which to me is the underlying state that it comes from. Well, let's not get into philosophy. It's a central, it's the whole state of that condition. The neutral state of that condition. The essential state of that condition. Central way that I change physics. And all the products I'm going to share with you today, they're unique in one respect to other lasers, other products, other things that are out there. They're unique in one respect. And that one respect is that I designed and developed them to induce, we designed and developed them to induce things into this state of neutral still point. I love this state, if you hadn't noticed. I spend my day as often as I can in this state. I share this state with people. And when I went to make some things, by the way, if there's groups going on, now is a good moment to pass out lasers. Raise your hand if you don't have one of our lasers. And the helpers there, go ahead and hand out lasers to people. The products that we've developed are all designed to gently and very induce, whether it's an injury or a tissue or a cell or the face or the glands or the organs or your brain or your whole body or your aura. I don't care what the thing is. If you have the underlying technology that induces still point, then you now have a powerful tool, transformative tool, to be able to change physics. I cannot say this enough. You have a knee, you have a tooth. I got into lasers because of a tooth issue. And my whole interest in lasers came from an injury I had, a major tooth situation that I was dealing with. And in the process of dealing with that situation, I discovered that lasers are very, very effective at doing one key thing. This is the scalar laser that we work with. It's called the scalar laser, scalar wave laser, scalar laser. It's a low-level laser or a cold laser or a healing laser. Those are all phrases that refer to this type of a cold laser, low-level laser, healing laser, therapeutic laser. The basic principle of this technology is very, very simple. There's a lot of lasers now popping up everywhere. The key principle of this technology is that the laser donates photons. That's the basis of how the technology works, right? It delivers photons. Why is that important? Because they've found in studies that when you deliver photons to a tissue, it increases the cell's production of ATP. So when you donate photons, energy, to a knee or a disc, or in my case a tooth, which is how I got into lasers, the key thing that it does is it increases in the cell the part of the cell called the mitochondria, which produces something called ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which all ATP is cellular energy. Cellular energy. So again, what lasers do, and they do it really well, and the reason that I and a lot of people are into lasers is lasers donate photons, and photons help cells to say, hey, let's get rebuilding new cells. I can't say this enough. You know, Deepak Chopra said this years ago. If the body is new, he came out years ago and said, we know through science that the body is new every 7 or 8 years. So if the body is new every 7 or 8 years, why would someone have injury 10, 15, 20 years later if the body is new in 7 or 8 years? Doesn't make sense. In other words, the only thing your body does is to replicate cells. That's what your body does. All your cells are constantly in the process of replicating new cells, or you wouldn't be here. Really good to get clear on this, because the Western model wants you to have the belief, the notion, that you don't regenerate. They benefit by you not believing in your own experience, in the fact, in the truth of your existence. And your existence is based on, physically, is based on one key thing. Everyone take a nice big breath in. It's been a while since I've done a group, a live stream like this from Vermont, from here. And it's so, for me, Vermont is so, like, I drop into still point and it's like a retreat for me, Vermont. It pulls it just, so I find when I'm dropping in, we call it dropping in, where we just, it's like your car, right? You drop it in neutral. If you didn't have neutral, well, how would you ever get out of it? You got to drop it in. You never keep it always, No, you drop it in neutral. Same thing with your computer, right? You close your windows. Shh. You bring your attention, bring it to neutral. Okay, so all lasers, I don't want to get into the specifics of all lasers because this is really two technologies in one. This is part cold laser, low level laser, and all lasers donate photons. And the benefit of all lasers is great, right? They donate photons, they stimulate ATP. ATP fuels your cell's ability to rebuild new cells, right? If you can fuel up energy in the cell, what does that mean? It means the cell replicates faster. That's it. Just like a garden, right? If you get the plants, the vegetables in the sunlight, it means they're going to grow. You get them in the shade, they grow a little bit, maybe not so much because they're in the shade. So if you have a knee, if you have a disc, if you have a shoulder, if you have a tooth, you laser twice a day, 10, 15 minutes, twice a day. Why? Not because the laser is some kind of miracle healing device. You laser because it is a way to change the physics. And if you can accelerate energy into that area so that the blood comes in, the oxygen comes in, the ATP comes in. Another nice benefit they found, particularly with lasers and violet light, which I use a lot of because of this and other reasons, is that lasers have been found and violet light to stimulate nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is this profound compound that's like nitric oxide, like nitrous oxide laughing gas. It relaxes and makes you smile. It basically makes you feel bliss. It relaxes. It's great for pain. It relaxes. And I particularly like nitric oxide a lot. And it's part of why I work with lasers and violet light. It's also part of why I like to rest in still point. They found that yogis, when you are in your lungs and breathing, you're pulling oxygen out of the atmosphere. Well, nitric oxide's in the atmosphere too. It won the Nobel Prize a few years ago because it vasodilates your system. It is great for anti-aging longevity. It's a precursor to all sorts of neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, all the things that make you feel good. Nitric oxide accelerates. It has an effect on DMT, dimethyltryptamine production in your pineal gland, the spirit molecule. Great movie about that. And it's also great for anti-aging and longevity. So yogis are all blissed out because they're resting here in still point. By the way, everyone take a breath in. Stop right here. They found that yogis resting here, they have elevated nitric oxide. So breathing brings in oxygen. Resting here in this neutral still point state tunes you. It's like tuning your condition to different elements that are to different molecules all around us. You tune into nitric oxide. That nitric oxide now comes into your system and opens up all sorts of important anti-aging, well-being, and yogic qualities, which is one of the main reasons I love to rest in still point. Tune in. You check in. I can tell right now we're holding this. I don't need to say drop into still point because check in. We're resting in still point now. That happens. You focus on this a little bit and you'll find, wow, it's like a buoy. It just kind of feels like you're resting here. And tune in. How does it feel? I do this a lot. I go around. I always ask people, how does it feel? And I hear relaxing, peaceful, like home. It feels nice. I tell you, you want to change all your physics really fast. So what makes our system different, and before I get into the specifics of that, let me just show people real quick. We use 3 wavelengths. Now I don't want to focus on these too much. I just want to kind of touch on them because many of you in our network already understand this. Yet I'm just going to touch on it. This is a red laser. This is the red laser. Most companies in the cold laser space, in the cold laser world, use red. It's very common. Red and infrared is the other really common one. So red lasers are particularly good. You can see how far they go in. Red lasers go like that far into the body. But when I say that, they get absorbed by the tissue, which is why it turns red. right? That means that when the tissue turns red, that means it's absorbing the light. Well, red lasers are particularly good for anything this far in the body, right? They don't go that far, they go that far in, which makes them really good for skin situations, for open wounds, makes them really, really good for me. I use this over my dental situation every day. Right inside, right above it, I had an infection above the front tooth. Within 2-3 months, the infection was gone, has never come back. Really good on acupuncture, acupressure, facial rejuvenation. Fantastic. You can find all sorts of points. Don't feel you need to be an expert. Like right here, I just stopped right here. It's like a super point. As soon as I put it on, I feel my body going into still point, which is the key difference between our laser and other lasers. Other lasers stimulate. Lasers by nature are stimulating light. Our laser is the only laser, because of the proprietary scalar wave technology and how we developed it, to induce our scalar. We have subtle scalar technology, which is really irrelevant. That's what it is. What's more important is what it does. It's like, great, scalar is the big buzz. Everyone's scalar, 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 which is great. I love scalar, but I've tried tons of things that are scalar, and I try it, and I'm like, it doesn't feel good to me. The name is great, sounds great, tried it, benefit I didn't get. The benefit of this, the key thing that our technology does, which is why we have 30,000, 40,000 people around the planet using it, is our approach to scalar, which is patented, is a subtle approach that induces still point response. It induces any oscillatory condition to unravel and reset in neutral. Red lasers also really good up in the nose. If you ever feel a cold coming on, laser right in the nose. It goes right up into the pineal pituitary glands. I can't say enough about this red laser. If you have the red laser and you're not using it, every day turn it on and do a few points. Find some points to do. These are great points. This point right here, in acupuncture, there are two key, there's all the meridians, and then there's the great rivers. One river goes up the back of the spine, and one goes down front of the spine. This is the one that goes up the back, Governor Meridian. And this is the one in the front, Conception Meridian. Two great points. You want to cinch up and tighten up all your acupuncture meridians in one point? Right here. So much you can do. Tip of the nose, great for weight loss. It's a thyroid point. It balances your metabolism. Tip of the nose. Any blemishes or scars or anything going on, I just move it around. I tell you, it feels great. I could sit here all day. You don't want to look into the laser. You'll notice I'm not looking, though we decollimate our probes. I'll explain in a moment. We decollimate our lasers so they're not coming out as a big column of light, which makes them much more safe. Ears, you can do all the points on your ears. You can do points on your hand. Don't be shy. So many people don't do so many things because they don't think they know enough. Okay? All you need to understand, everyone take a moment, drop in still point. All you need to understand is very simple, right? Anything tense, feeling tired, not energy, all those things signify one thing to me: lack of energy. Problems, lack of energy. Change physics, technology, energize. So all you need to do is turn it on and move it around. Anywhere that's achy or tense or tender, laser it. And more often than not, as you do it, you'll find as you go that your body starts to feel like you are unwinding and dropping into still point. In fact, when I use the laser, I always, if you're out there in one of our groups, try the first program, Unwind. Put Unwind on and hold it in your hand for a moment. In fact, I'll do it with you. If you're new to our system, put Unwind on. Feels pretty good, but it's not, I can tell, it feels good, but it's not totally the one. I just changed to quantum, and right away I feel my body expanding more. I would pick quantum right now. This is how I pick which program. There's only so many programs. Just go through each one. Like when you watch TV, right? You try this one. Not that you go to this one. When you find one you like, you have a very specific response, right? You take a breath, you smile, you sigh, you smile. You're like, oh, I like that. I'm going to watch that. This is the same thing. Give it one moment, see how it feels. If it feels like it's putting you into that, compression, 3 states. I covered this in our trainings, in our retreats and seminars and trainings. 3 states, right? Compression, contraction, positive. Unwinding, negative. Neutral, still point. Any problem, an injury, an emotion, some program in your life, a tooth situation, if you can take it every day from compression, contraction, unwinding. As soon as you go into unwind, it feels like this, right? It feels like, ah. So when you're using the laser here today, try different. If you're not feeling it, flip it to the next one. This isn't a tool that you just keep on there because it's going to heal you. This is a process. This is a very specific process. I don't go around saying, hey, put this on, it's going to heal you miraculously. No, this is physics. It's like plumbing, right? The plumber doesn't say, oh, I'm going to put this magic thing on there and it's going to fix your pipe. No. The plumber goes on and tries to get it, and if not, it does the thing and it pulls the pipe out, then it puts a new one and it solders it. It does a very specific thing. If we're doing a very specific thing, it's a subtle thing, it's very specific. It is a very real thing to those of us that do it, right? If you have a problem, you take that and you unwind it until it lands here in neutral. I learned this from this is yogic technology. Yogis understand this, that whether they take an injury or an organ or a chakra or the brain or their entire existence, you understand the process of collapsing things that are physical back into the neutral state of energy, then if you understand that reference and then have the tools and the resources and the technology to do it, then you're the plumber of your own condition. Maybe not the best analogy. You're the yogi of your own condition. Or forget it, whatever you want to be. You are your own condition because you now have stewardship over it. It's not something that's whipsawing you around all over the place every day. I'm not anything except I'm very persistent in my life. When I have a problem or a situation, I just keep going at it until I find there's some play here. I get some. That's what I do. When I make things, when I come up with protocols, everything. All right. So throughout the process here, don't necessarily do the same thing I'm doing. You pick the program that is having the right effect for you and putting you into that feels good. And anyone who's not sure they can do it, baloney. Of course you can do it. You do it every night when you watch TV. Same response. If you're not sure you're on the right program, say, would you watch this if it was a TV show? Give it a little moment. If you can't say yes, it's not the right one. Go to the next one until you find one that's like, yeah, I like it. That's how you start off in this, and then you build on that. Second probe, second wavelength, infrared. Infrared is different than red. It goes much deeper into your body. Infrared, unlike red, it does not get absorbed by the skin, muscle, nerve. In fact, infrared's not visible to the human eye. Some cameras see a beam shooting out. Human eye doesn't see so much. The benefit of infrared, it goes right through the skin, the muscle, the nerve, and goes into the bone, cartilage, and disc. So it doesn't get absorbed by the skin, muscle, nerve, doesn't even recognize that stuff. And then it goes right in and hits against the harder tissues, the denser, the bone, the cartilage, the disc, deeper tissues. Studies show that infrared lasers increase bone density. Which is why they're often used for bone regeneration, really good for arthritic situations. I can't say enough. For me, infrared lasers completely rebuilt the bone above my front teeth. I had no bone above the front teeth. My father's a dentist, taught at Yale, said I needed to pull it and fill it in. You could see it was all dark and fuzzy. It was like, there was bone, and then in the x-ray there was no bone. So I used the red laser for 2 or 3 months, cleaned up the infection. Infections usually bacteria is present when there's bone loss. So I had infection that was clear. So I cleaned up the infection. Then I used the infrared laser to rebuild the bone. Took me 3-4 months every day, changing the physics. Right? What were we doing? We were growing new bone. At a certain point, we went for another X-ray, and my dad said something to the effect like, he didn't not believe you can grow bone. He'd just never seen anyone else grow their bone back in his many years of practice. He's retired now. So my view was, of course you grow bone. Everybody grows bone. You're always growing bone. You're growing everything or you wouldn't be here. If you stop growing anything, you're done. Period. And the thing that grows is energy, ATP, cellular energy, adenosine triphosphate. If you can ramp up cellular energy in any given area, you're saying to those cells, hey, let's grow some new cell activity. That's the infrared. Great for knees, great for discs, great for cartilage, great for backs, great for spine, great for dental, great for joints, shoulders. Really, really good for getting deeper. Again, red for the surface tissue, infrared much deeper for bone, cartilage, and disc. The third wavelength that I use I feel good. Tell you, that's life nowadays. Life will get you threaded up so you're like, you're getting all into this. And then people have all this stuff going on. And so they have so much going on that then you get whirled into other stuff. I routinely, every 10, 15 minutes, it's like your computer, right? When your computer visits other sites and then they now have this little scan thing, you know, and it goes, it's like, oh, that was bad. We got to clear from that. That was no good. Or it says, oh, okay, this stuff's okay. I've trained my perception every 10, 15 minutes. I don't want to be in this stuff. I don't want to be going down all these different things all day long. To me, it's just not attractive to me. I don't want to be in that kind of terrain. I'd rather kind of be here. I like having a smile on the face, a little blissed out. So I pull back and I say, I just kind of check in with the energy around me. And as soon as you drop in here to still point, you're like, I could be in a meeting and people are, you know, when I'm done talking, other people are talking. I keep my head going, you know, and you know, but really I'm going, I don't close my eyes and go like this and tell everyone, oh, I'm a big this or whatever. No, I do it incognito. Tell you, no one can thread up with you. People like threading up with people through the chakras. And if someone's wound up, they want to get someone else wound up. Nobody can thread up with you when you're neutral. They're like trying to do stuff. You're like, ooh, you know. Practice this. It's powerful medicine. I use this to change physics in my life perpetually. Okay, the third wavelength is the violet. This is a violet laser. I don't want to touch on this too much right now. Most companies don't use violet. They're typically more expensive. The only other company that uses violet laser, theirs is like $18,000 for a 20 milliwatt violet laser. Ours is a 100 milliwatt violet laser, and it's much, much less. Violet lasers are really, really good for emotions. They're really good for stress. They're really good for inducing still point. The way I tune them, I make them nonlinear, so we soften them. And then we put other violet light around the lasers, and then we modulate them. Most companies don't care about how they modulate, so they're throwing hard square waves at you. You know, or they're jamming different kinds of... What we do is we make digital rounded sine waves. Everything in nature is flowing, so we make really subtle rounded sine waves. And then we take those waves and we modulate them into subtle scalar waves. So the positive and the negative of the wave comes and collapses, which is the same thing as still point, right? Basically the same thing where you the breath, right? Positive, negative, positive, and then you go in the neutral. We're doing that in the light, right? We're sending a signal that's going positive, negative, neutral. Positive, negative. We basically copied still point experience in a laser, in light, and patented it, which is based on Tesla scalar waves. The medical symbol's a scalar wave. DNA is a scalar wave, the medical symbol. So we're modulating, they're really still point waves. Violet lasers induce still point so nicely. One of my favorite, great for skin, cosmetic, facial rejuvenation, anti-aging. There's all sorts of research around stem cells, telomeres, DNA, all with violet lasers. Subtle energy healing. I often wave it around. This thing goes like 20, 30, 40 feet in a dark room. So I go around the field. A lot of people hold blockages in their field. blockages, cords connecting to other people. Healers say people have more issues in their field than they do in their body. And then they don't realize why their body has no energy, because the field is all clamped up. I tell people every day, if you have our laser, put this on Unity every day and go around your field. Why? It's kind of like the computer, right? If your computer has a lot of memory and you don't have too many, if you have too many programs and not enough memory, the thing tightens, seizes up. If you have good range, overhead of memory to the programs you're running, everything can process through and work really good. Well, your problems, your situations, your systems, your processes are all going to do so much better if you have available bandwidth around you. That bandwidth is the neutral, scalar, still point field. The more you're in still point, the more this field is there, the more you have available bandwidth, so injuries and emotions and different challenges and health situations can process. And what does that energy do in your body? According to yogis and healers, it energizes your lymph, it energizes your blood, it energizes your thymus gland, where white blood cells begin or are activated from. It does all these important quantum biological functions for your DNA, for all these important things. Violet laser is really, really, really important and good. So everyone go ahead, take the laser out, put it in your hand for a moment. We're going to go through a quick protocol here. Put laser in your hand, start on unwind. I'm going to start with unwind. And I'm going to put it directly over my adrenals. We're going to start with one protocol. We're going to go directly over the adrenal glands. This is one of my favorite protocols. And if you have one of our lasers, I can't say enough. Most people buy the laser to work on a specific thing like a tooth or a disc or a knee. And that's key. You buy a laser, you want to unwind that, you want to do it every day, 10, 15 minutes. Find the program that feels good. That was the first protocol we covered a little while ago, right? Find the program that feels good. It makes you go into drops into still point and then work it over that area, whether it's the tooth, whether it's a knee, 10, 15 minutes until the tissue unwinds and resets. Not long, 10, 15 minutes. Then you do it later in the day. Then you do it again the next day. You do that for 2, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months. You're going to begin to train that tissue to start to say, hey, we can be like this, tense and stressed, or we can be relaxed at ease and neutral. And then you do it again, and eventually you start to train the tissue to start to be neutral, where it's not holding on. You know, there's a famous person. I'm actually changing to quantum right now, and I'm going to the other adrenal. There's a famous, person. You all heard of Deepak Chopra. Well, Deepak years ago came out with something else that was really fascinating. He said that if the body's new every 7 or 8 years, why would someone have injury 10, 15, 20 years later? Doesn't make sense. And so basically what he came up with is the theory of cell memory. So that if you get a knee injury or a emotional situation or a foot problem or whatever it is, the tissue in that area holds on to the information from the injury. New cells keep coming in, yet the old cell passes the information from the polarization from the injury to the new cell. The new cell now acts and behaves like the old cell, even though it's a brand new cell. And that's how cell memory gets passed on from cell generation to cell generation. When I heard that years ago, I was like, oh, wow, that's fascinating. The key is, how do we dissolve the cell memory? How do we clear and dissolve the cell memory? Still point. Back then, I was practicing cranial work, and I'd work on people's cranial sacral rhythms, and they'd come to me with, so I started playing around. People come with a knee injury, I'd find the rhythm. First I'd unwind the fascia, then I'd find the rhythm, and then I'd collapse the rhythm in still point. Still point's in cranial work where you take the positive, negative, flexion, extension of the cranial rhythm, and you hold it till it drops into still point. And so I'd drop people's injuries or problems into still point. They'd leave, they'd feel great. I got popular. A lot of people were coming to see me, and I'd unwind people, I'd reset still point. Most cranial people are working the rhythm. I was like, forget the rhythm. The rhythm's nice, but all it does is brings me to still point, and then I get to still point, and people's stuff dissolves. Like a cassette tape, right? You got a cassette, you got information on there. You want to delete the information? hit whatever it's called. What is it called? Delete, or not delete, erase. What did erase do? It flipped the polarity. Positive, negative. Flip the polarity, the information is gone on the tape. Still point does the same thing, right? You have a problem, situation, bring it neutral. It's why you can't hold a thought or an emotion. Those are polarity. When you're neutral, you can't hold polarity. It's not possible. After a while of working on people like that, I got kind of burnt out, and so I went to India. And in India, yogis live in still point. And on that journey, I kind of came clear to me. I was using still point in my practice. I said, "Well, forget this. Let's just rest here. Let's just live. Let's just take our whole condition and drop it into still point." I stopped doing body work, and subsequently, I then began looking at, well, okay, what else can we do from here? My life, I like to live here. I like to rest here. I like to live my life from this place. Okay, you can do the adrenals, this protocol. So the first thing to be able to understand is how to take the laser and go to any area and unwind it, and then do it again every day for a month, 2 months, 3 months, however long it takes till the area says we're reset. We're no longer holding on to cellular memory. That's the key. We don't want the area holding on to cellular memory. So the other thing I suggest, the other protocol that's so important that I suggest everybody does is your adrenal glands. Adrenaline is the primary underlying culprit to keeping people in this state of being ratcheted up like this. And if you can retrain your glands to be neutral and your cranial system, to me the glands govern the cranial system. So we're doing the adrenals right now. You can do them from the front or the back. I'm on activate. I changed the laser to activate, and as I'm doing it, it's like my body's totally going into still point. I did unwind for a little bit. I did quantum. It wasn't until I put activate on for me right now that I completely, at a certain point when you find the right program, you're going to feel like the floor's been pulled out from under you, and it's just like, but it's not like it feels like you're being supported by the space around you. Feels great. If I wasn't doing this right now, I would just totally tune out here for a moment. But we're going to keep going. So that's the adrenal glands. Can't say enough. Every day, 5-10 minutes. Find the right program. Unwind. If your adrenals are always releasing adrenaline and cortisol, it keeps you always responding to life like this. Most people here in the West have been trained to release adrenaline and cortisol. I call it glandular entrainment. Where the glands are, to me, glands work through entrainment. It's why when women live in a house, their cycles come together. You want to clear your entrainment, reset your adrenals so you can get your system tuned to your thymus, your hypothalamus, pineal, pituitary. Most people are living in their sympathetic adrenaline. We want to shift that. In fact, my big difference from most cranial osteopathy is that my view is glands govern the cranial rhythm. All right, second key place I like to do is the sacrum tailbone. And I don't want to focus too much on this aside to say to put the laser over it. You can do it in the back over the sacrum or right over the pubic bone in the front. Pubic bone's easy to reach. I tell you, anyone with chronic back pain, anyone with chronic digestive issues, anyone with chronic emotional issues, security issues, financial issues, any kind of structural issues in your body, knee issues, your sacrum, tailbone, pubic bone are pivotal. It's like your foundation. And so many people, their tailbone's tucked under. It's like having your emergency brake on in your car. So many people with knee injuries and foot problems, they come to me and I unwind the sacrum. I don't work on their knees. If the sacrum is tight at the bottom, the sacrum and tailbone, there are big nerves that come out of there that pump blood down up the legs. Well, if the sacrum is all tight, it's not pumping no nerve conduction. It's not pumping blood down to the lower extremities. Foot problems, neuropathy problems. Same thing with digestion. If the tailbone's tucked under, you can't get rid of anything in the body. Iliopsoas, sciatica. I just can't say enough. These are 3 points in this protocol. This protocol is key. If you like this experience, everyone take a moment, drop in still point. If you like this experience of still point, Not sure why I feel like whispering, but if you like this experience of still point, because this is a secret, this is a very important secret. If you like this experience of still point, unwind your adrenals, sacrum, and vagus nerve, because those three things, if they relax, will enable you to really stay here. So many people come to seminars, they say, oh, I love the still point. Then I went home and I couldn't hold it so easily. Well, you can't hold it because your adrenals are racing you all over the place. Bring them down. Your tailbone is like this. It's keeping you like this. Bring your tailbone down. You relax. Third key place I work, and I'm putting a program called Wave on right now. Wave. Right on the occipital ridge between the ears. If wave doesn't feel good, try unwind. To me, wave feels great. So the reason wave is so important, the occipital ridge is so important, is it's where your vagus nerve slips out of your cranium. It comes out of the brainstem, slips out right at the back at the occipital ridge. Occipital ridge is like this ridge between the ears. And what they found is that when people are stressed, adrenaline, the TMJ, the jaw, gets tight. When the jaw gets tight, the occipital area clamps like a door, behind a door. The vagus nerve, which is your main nerve, right? Your vagus nerve is called the wanderer. It's your main parasympathetic nerve. It governs your breathing, your digestion, your organs, your heart, your pulses. Basically, everything your body does with your organs, everything your body does is being coordinated by your vagus nerve, which, by the way, is much, much stronger when you're in parasympathy, when you're in still point. When you're sleeping, your vagus nerve is much stronger. When you're relaxed, when you're in... Everyone take a moment, take a breath. So if you're getting adrenaline and TMJ tight, it's clamping the vagus nerve, it shuts down. What do they say with stress, right? It shuts down the heart, digestion, breathing. Those are all key vagus nerve functions. So if you're like this and clamp in the back of the occipital ridge, of course you're going to have those problems. So again, we do adrenals. This is a 3-part protocol. Adrenals, sacrum, tailbone, occipital ridge. Everyone, if you have laser, should do this. This process took me 3 to 4 months doing it every day to completely, my whole life changed. I was like wound from not having breastfed, by the way. I didn't breastfeed as a child. A lot of people didn't breastfeed as a child. And my view is breastfeeding has a very strong part to play in establishing balance between the sympathetic and parasympathetic parts of the system. When babies come here, first thing they do is breastfeed, right? The sucking pulls the TM jaw forward. The TM jaw forward releases the occipital ridge, the vagus nerve opens. Mother's milk is high in oxytocin, which opens the hypothalamus. Well, when the hypothalamus opens, little babies, it's like they come to this planet, they're like, oh, okay, everything's okay. They bump into something, they cry, they breastfeed, everything. They do that for a year or two, and they've learned how to take stress and reset it into neutral. Oh, stress, neutral. Stress, neutral. And if you watch a baby for any... by the way, I'm going to do one more point here. I'm going to add one point to the protocol today on the sphenoid. The sphenoid, right between the temple, between the ears and the eyes, is the sphenoid. I'm on unity right now. If you watch a baby breastfeed, for mothers, for people that, when you watch this, the baby's stressed, it breastfeeds, it takes a breath, and progressively it takes another breath. Eventually, it after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it lands in still point. And often then it'll look around a little bit, and maybe it kicks in and starts breasting again. That's the normal process for organisms, biological organisms. Stress unwinding. There's a great book written. There's a book written about animals in the wild, where the animals, whenever they get stressed, they go and they process it, and then they come back to neutral. It's a great book. I can't recall the name of it, but it's all about that process in nature, how nature does it, and humans same. So if you understand this process of compression, contraction, unwinding, neutral, 3 things. I tell you, those 3 principles are everywhere in our people. In physics, positive, negative, neutrality, the Trinity, the 3 gunas, yin, yang, wu, wei. Every tradition has the 3 principles. Positive, negative, neutral. All I'm doing is saying, well, this isn't a philosophy. It's not a theory. Everyone, drop in here. This is a practical, experiential understanding or experience of, okay, when something's tense, we can flip the physics on it and unwind it. It's like a balloon, right? If the balloon is filled, is one state. You pop it. The second state is it's whizzing around the room. It's unraveling. Third state, same thing. Any injury, it's like this. It unwinds. When you hit that right program, you should feel your body starting to go. And if you keep feeling that for a while, you keep doing that, and not 10, 15 minutes later, you'll come into still point. I know when I'm done with laser. It doesn't take me long when I do session, because I find the program that unwinds me. And then I unwind until it's like a tire, right? Tire's got too much air. You put your finger. When the inner pressure equalizes with the outer pressure, it stops. Well, same thing here. When your inner pressure, dimensional pressure, equalizes with the outer pressure, that's still point. Most people have so much pressure built up in their condition from situations that they're like this, and they're not equalized with what's going on around them. All we do, using a very few specific technologies, everyone drop in here, still point. You hold still point. When I hold still point, I'm just holding it until I feel, like right here, I just felt like that tire. And now I feel equalized. When I use the laser, same thing, until it's equalized. All right, good. Let's bring in the Wi-Fi. Fantastic. You can put it right over here. Yoo-hoo. Hi. Thank you. Thank you too. We have a dynamic team here of helpers and who have been setting up the equipment and the lighting. Do such a good job. So I want to thank both of you for. Okay, so far I've gone over, just to kind of recap here for new folks, I've gone over a number of technologies to work on changing physics, right? The first is still point, which is the kind of essence of the entire experience that we're having here, the work that we're doing, that everything we do as a company is rooted in this, in still point. For me, if you know, my background is in really, when I left college, I went to India and spent quite a while living in different ashrams in different places, and in meditation and in the process, really not traditional yoga, really the inner yoga of the attention. And so when I kind of ended up getting involved in this, doing this stuff, to me it was really clear. If it induces still point, if it has to do with this experience, then I'm all on board. I'm all for it. If it doesn't, then I'm really not that interested. I'm not interested in making another laser. Lasers are great, and that's fantastic. Though our laser is laser and scalar still point inducer. That's the thing for me that is like, there's nothing else like it here. There's nothing else anywhere that I've seen that has an understanding of the subtle, intricate capacity for humans to reset things back to their natural, neutral state of equilibrium. And that's what really motivates me. So we covered, again, and all that is just a bunch of words, really, unless it's an actual thing where you embrace it and can do it. So again, everyone take a breath in. Then we covered laser, the 3 probes, main unit, 3 probes. We have 2 newer technologies. First is the Lotus laser. This is a laser that's got 16 violet lasers, and the people sharing, we have some great specials going on right now for these. We call these are kind of free gifts that are involved, but this is rare. Should retail at $3,500 traditionally, and compared to the only other laser that has violet laser at $18,000, this has 16 violet lasers in here. It's not a medical device. It's a really for well-being, cosmetic, anti-aging, well-being, and kind of exploration, yogic exploration. So that's the Lotus laser. Really good for emotions, for subtle healing, facial rejuvenation, longevity. It's fantastic for still point. It's just fantastic. And the other technology I want to share right now is the Wi-Fi technology, which is this is a kind of unique thing. It's purely scalar. It's not a laser. I'm going to turn it on, and basically, just to kind of recap, hopefully at some of the groups you have one there, and you can go along with me as I do this. Although I've done this over video before and had emails and posts from people in Iceland, people in Mexico, who said they felt it when I turned it on. This is a scalar technology, which means that distance is not the same as it is very unique. And I developed it specifically to offset Wi-Fi, cell phones, smart meters. My field, I hold still point in my life, and I can tell when I'm around cell phone towers. I can tell when the Wi-Fi is really strong. I mean, cell phone towers, the signal goes through concrete. So if it can go through cement in buildings, what does it do to the brain and the tissue and the skin? It's not good if it goes into buildings. Wi-Fi is the same, right? Wi-Fi, they know, is bad for the heart and the brain. The signal throws off your own body waves and rhythms. So for me, I developed this because the world is developing all this stuff, and to me, it makes me have to kind of hold still point more. So when I'm in hotels and out in the public, I put this on, and it sends a very subtle signal, scalar wave signal. It goes out for miles. This thing goes out a ways. And as I mentioned before, scalar, they say that scalar is everywhere in the universe, so it's not working on the same physics. So I'm going to put it on, and I want you to just kind of tune in. This left arrow I keep in the middle. This one we're not using. This has 6 settings. We could, if I had this plugged into the wall, you'd use these. There's 6 settings: unwind, quantum, activate, unity, and cohere. But I'm going to run it with this. You can plug this in the back. I do it when I travel a lot with this. I'm on unwind right now, and I just want you to tune in and see if you feel this. I feel this a little. It feels to me like a little bit of a river. It's kind of going like this. I just feel very similar. It's not the right one for me for this moment. So I'm going to go to quantum. And right away after putting quantum on, see, I took a sigh. Whenever you're in a situation where your body is being supported with energy, you'll often take a sigh. I don't know if anyone else feels this one, but for me, that's nice. And all that's different between this and our approach to using a laser, when we use the laser, right, we're using it on our body and on the energy field around the body. I call it the quantum field or the still point field. When we're using this, we're conditioning, doing the same thing, right? We're changing physics in the space that we're in, right? The house, the garden, the neighborhood, the hotel, whatever area you plug this into, we're saying, okay, we're going to recondition the experience from the Wi-Fi, from the cell phone towers, from the smart meter, from the neighbors, from the people in that space, from anything that's going like this. We're going to say to that, we're just saying with the waves, people say to me often, well, gee, how could that do that? And I say, well, how does Wi-Fi go around your neighborhood, right? You can pick up all your neighbors' Wi-Fi. It's a signal. The difference between what they're doing and what we're doing is just very simple difference, right? They could care less about the effect on your body. They're just sending information. This technology does the opposite. The only thing I care about is, does it induce you to drop into still point? The body to drop into still point. When I make things, I don't just come up with an idea and say, oh, wow, I got this great idea. Boom, here it is. No, I come up with a consideration and I say, again, persistence. I try things. I have engineers and we try this. We whiteboard out. We can do this. We can do this. And we try each one. When I literally, I was in the next room over when we developed this. The first day, we tried it. We tried a bunch of things I didn't like. When we tried a certain combination of some technology we ended up developing, I felt this. I said, wow, that's cool. This thing drops me into still point. See, the strength of this is not that it's going to neutralize every caustic polarized energy that comes into your sphere. Although it will certainly, waves coming in that are linear, like Wi-Fi signal, this is going to it with a wave that's like this, that's saying, hey, what's you tripping out about? What are you coming in here for all like this? We're just softening it down. Wi-Fi still works, everything still works. We're simply saying, hey, chill out. But the other thing it does, which is more important to me, is this is saying to any biological fields in that same space, your waves are being caressed, induced by these waves. You see, my background in cranial work and in yogic experience gave me a understanding of wave structure and how waves affect our reality. And that understanding enables me to make things that basically use that wave information to communicate with your waves, the body's waves. And in that process, it says, whoa, all right, great. Let's have this technology supporting our own balance, neutral coherence. Still point. That's good. When I go through each day, for folks that have this, I go through and I put it on unwind for a moment, just like I did. And I tuned in 10 seconds later, I said, no, not the right one. Then I go to the next one, quantum. On this day, if I was doing this, I wouldn't even go look for another one. This feels so good and stable right now that I wouldn't go keep looking. I'd just leave it be. And maybe I'd come back a few hours later and I'd say, oh, wow, that feels nice. Let's try something else. We'll just try one more for the heck of it. I'm going to go to activate. I can almost always put activate on and be like, I love this. Because I actually would pick this over quantum. Because what this one did, the other one stabilized my field. What this one did is it dropped me into bliss. That's what I really look for when I test these. I'm looking for which thing, really, I make stuff that makes me feel bliss when I use it. That's what I do. I make things that when I use it, I'm like, wow, that feels really good. I want to feel that way more. So that I can train my body that's being, all the stuff that's being made at Walmart and on TV. People are selling all this junk everywhere. All this stuff has no consideration for the effect on your condition. The only thing we as a program care about is effect on your condition so that we can train and reverse the crap that everything else is doing to pollute and collude and mess up the subtlety. The subtle is where the sweetness is. I want to thank all the people, we have so many great people in this community around the planet. And I just want to say we've been through so much over the years and business hasn't been our background. We've kind of jumped into it. Engineering wasn't our background. Medical devices wasn't our background. None of this stuff is. The only thing I had a background was still point. And I only had that because I was persistent. And so yet we've met so many amazing people. And I just want to say aloha to everyone, whether you've been to our events in recent years, whether we haven't seen you for a while. There has been some interest. We've been getting some interest for a global tour and an upcoming retreat. So we're looking at how we can make it over to Europe. We're looking at how we can potentially make it to several other countries and also a possible upcoming retreat. Our retreats for people that are new to our system, to our program, are 3 4-day retreats that we do in really nice places like Cabos or here in Vermont. And we dedicate 3 or 4 days to dissolving things and cultivating this. And you get using technologies and diet and different processes to cultivate this. We're also looking at some new online training. It was part of the reason that our amazing videographer, he does so much. He does a lot with the newsletters and so many other things. Joe, who came in. So everyone have some appreciation for Joe. We're working on some neat stuff in the background. Hopefully we'll have it soon, where some of our old retreats and trainings will be available for people around lasers and different protocols and still point and understanding your field and all this exciting stuff, getting into the alchemy. And to me, my favorite, cultivating where the energy starts flowing. The medical symbol is a roadmap to energy flowing up the spine and opening up this gland, which then releases substances for well-being called DMT, or different names in different traditions. Fountain of youth, elixir of life, ambrosia. There's all sorts of names for the substances that happen up in the glands in the brain. And that's really my passion, is how can I use technology to assist me to hold equilibrium so I can cultivate a state of bliss, harmony, peace, love, and wonder. That to me is where I want to be. That's the kind of experience I want. That's what I want to share with people. That's what I want to celebrate with people. So I want to, again, thank each of you who is here today for being a part of this. Much love and aloha. And the people at the events will be sharing some amazing specials. If you're seeing this over our newsletter, we'll have a specials link at the bottom, so you can go on and see what kind of great holiday specials we're having. And I also want to send a big thank you to our support team, Kathy, Logan, Lucretia, Cindy, Enid, do such a great job. I mentioned Joe, who's just an amazing person and helps in so many different ways. Of course, Lily and Essentia, who are behind the scenes coordinating and orchestrating everything here. I'm always the one in the front, yet they're so much a big part of what happens with our whole program and all the products and all the marketing and all the developing of the message and everything. So much love and appreciation to both of them and all the engineers and people here in Vermont who do such a great job as well. So each of you have a lovely weekend, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. And everyone, I tell you, if you can start everything you do with this, when you finish things, come back here and reset. Thanks, Joe. Finish things, come back here and reset. And in the middle, if you can, come back here and reset. You cultivate, you start that. Put a sign up. Have you dropped in still point? Before you eat, drop in still point. I make it a process. Whenever I go to a new thing, I drop in still point. I go and I get in the car. I get on an airplane. I go to a new place. First thing, hotel room. First thing I do. This clears. You keep doing that and you'll start to find, wow, like the group. Everyone check in. We're all resting in still point. You practice this and this will be your natural condition.